Hello my friends, it's Alex again. Today I'm gonna show you how to create fully procedural moon shader in Blender Eevee. Okay, let's go. So we start by creating an icosphere, increasing subdivisions to about 5. I will subdivide it manually one more time. Let's also select all faces and make them smooth shaded. I split our viewport into sides so we can move everything in the left side and see result in the camera to the right. Okay, let's add sunlight and decrease its intensity, I guess, to about 4, so it's not too powerful. I'll rotate it to shine from the left so we have crescent shape of the moon. Now select the moon and let's make a copy. It will be a smaller moon we put in front between the camera and larger moon. And scale it down a little bit. Yeah, like that. Okay, what's next? Let's perhaps set a spotlight to simulate light reflections. Light bounces from the small moon on the surface of the larger moon. Make sure to increase cone blend factor so it doesn't look sharp. And we need to place it between the moons and adjust angle so it looks soft, just like a light bouncing off the surface. I'm trying to find the right position for the spotlight. Might actually move behind the small moon. Now it looks nice. Let's make a copy of that spotlight and highlight back surface of the moon, but we don't want to make it as powerful. Let's increase quality of the shadows. I'm changing resolution of the map and slightly increasing threshold value. Yeah, and let's also increase quality of the viewport. Now let's go to the shader editor and change our background. So the first thing we want to change is to set its color to black, decrease its power, and let's create a volume scatter node. I also made it black and increase its density and anisotropy so it doesn't block all the light, and we can see at least something. Now I need to increase distance of the volumetrics, its quality, and enable volumetric shadows. I'll increase radius of the bloom effect, but disable it for now before we are done with the shader. Yeah, and let's finally create our moon shader. So we start from basic principle shader, and the first thing I will show you is how we generate creators. So we create a Voronoi texture and color ramp. Let's connect it to the shader, and now we can see these black holes. I can move gradient color stops to adjust the scale and distribution of craters on the surface. And now we add texture mapping node. This is necessary to control all the generators we'll have later, and we will use object coordinates so we don't need any UV unwrap. This shader will work okay on any mesh. I just added UV noise texture so we can distort our craters a little bit. Now these craters are way too distorted, so I'll reduce multiplier. And you can see I create two nodes, one for powerful distortion of UVs and the second one is for less powerful. I will use layout frames just to make sure I know where everything is located. It really simplifies everything and brings consistency in the nodes layout on the canvas. And now I'm multiplying the same distance of the node with itself so it kinda becomes sharper. Like that. Yeah, and we'll need lots of these texture generators, so I will copy them over and over so we'll have about 5 copies. Basically the same setup, starting from the largest one on the top and going down to the smallest one. I group them into a separate node and have all the scale fields linked as group inputs. And I'll get them names, so we know which input connects to what. And connect our UV coordinates with this node. And now name them with scale big, scale medium, and so on. So basically we have input for each of the sliders for our generators. And now we connect them to the outputs. Yeah, we also rename outputs so we know which output corresponds to which texture node. Okay, so we have a generator right here, and now we can start creating something from that. I always try to keep my nodes with proper names assigned, because after some time it can get messy and finding right things becomes very complicated. And now we create noise generator. Noise is really useful for us because we won't just generate craters. We'll create mountains on the surface, well, also some masks to make surface features less uniform. As with created textures, I'll create 3 more copies with different settings, so we have something to choose from. So we basically do the same thing, we connect generators with the output sockets, we'll have 3 of them. And yeah, we change scale and distortion for all the cases we might need in our shader. Also don't forget to rename all the outputs because it's very easy to mess up. Same goes for input. Okay, this node is ready and then we just rename it to clouds generator. Yeah. Okay, let's proceed with creating a bump node. We'll connect our craters generator output so it's using height map for a displacement effect. And now we can see how it's displacing our surface. Let's disable color and reduce bump strength a little. Okay, well, shader now takes quite a while to compute because we have lots of generators. I'd recommend using a good GPU to work with real-time shaders. I tried to load it on my laptop once, and it even could compile the shader, showing me just magenta color like something is missing. I'm not sure about minimum requirements though. Okay, so I just grouped this color ramp and this will be our first pipeline node. And yeah, so we start from color ramp. We'll add some mix node and we'll create a mixing factor for each of our pipeline nodes so we can control how strong it affects our channels. Yeah, so this one is for color. Each of the nodes will modify color and height channel. And height will go straight to our bump node we added previously. Let's rename this node group to Moon Seas. And now I'll add an RGB color node. So this is a configurable base color of our moon, so we can control how bright it is. So now we switch color ramp mode to B-spline. And yeah, let's connect this. This will be the group input for clouds noise. You should pay attention to colors of the node inputs. Yellow is for color values, gray is for numeric value. So if you accidentally connect color to a node socket which expects a single numeric value, it will become grayscale, and you will lose all your color data. So to double check, for color we need yellow socket, and for displacement or blending factor we can use gray socket. So here I'm modifying color ramp for our noise. You can see that I used separate RGB node and connected ramp to a red channel. And well, it saved us some time and also calculation performance, because we can use one noise texture for 3 different kinds of surface features. Yeah, so I'm done with this color ramp, and now I connect it to the color socket. Now you can see we have huge black seas on the surface of the moon, which are basically dark basaltic plains. These also sometimes called lunar oceans. And well, going from that, we also need to add some craters with the same color. I need to mix seas with craters so they are on the same depth. It will improve our surface features so it doesn't look like just some cloud texture, but it will also have some holes from huge craters. Yeah, okay, so I use layer group so we can group other nodes by their function and move them around easily. And I'm changing blend mode here to darken to mix craters over lunar seas and not make them even darker. I also need to change craters color ramp here so it has about the same level of darkness. And now we can see how it blends quite nicely. Okay, what's next? Let's make color features of lunar plains more interesting, and we can do that by mixing in some clouds generator. I'm gonna link medium clouds, split it with separate RGB node, and use only red channel for my color ramp. I'm switching color ramp mode to B-spline to get smoother fall-off of the noise. So I want some bright edges on the border around lunar seas. I'm gonna use Additive Mix node to blend over color channel. I'm checking clamp here to make sure that all extreme values are cut off. Okay, let's group these nodes and see the result. So what it does right now, it creates slight additive rim around all the seas. As a second input, I'm gonna reuse the same seas color channel, but I will use another ramp to remap its color to highlight only areas around the edges, just where I need that noise to show up. Now let's add even more clouds noise. This time I want to fill up all the seas so they don't have that uniform dark color. This will be our additive noise group. And finally, we want to export mask from this node group, so we will reuse it in the following nodes and we can control where to put other surface features. And we want to use color ramp to make sure our mask is sharp and maps exactly where the seas are. I'm adding an invert node so it will be masking out seas and plateaus are left white. That's because we'll put our craters mainly over these white plateaus and only small craters will be visible over seas. And now I'm adding one more group input. This time it's for mixer. We're gonna control how our color ramps are actually influencing all the input channels. Now if you remember, we added color and height factor inputs before. I'm connecting them as blend factors, so from the outside we'll be able to control these. It's really useful because it makes our shader very flexible. Just need to connect all the textures we have with the mixer. Okay, we are done here. Just watch how I'm moving these factor sliders and we immediately can see the result without any recompilation. Okay, now let's make some craters. I'm adding one more mix node and color ramp. We're gonna overlay some new stuff or color channel we get from the previous node we created. So I go back here to grab some medium craters from the generator node. And we add one more multiply node, so this is for height channel. Okay, so now we can group these nodes. And you see it already generated some inputs for us, but obviously it doesn't know the names we want. So let's assign proper names. These are for craters multiplier and height. And also pay attention to which nodes you're connecting inputs. I know that for height I need color data input, and for multipliers and factors I need a single value input, which one is a gray circle. Okay, let's add one more frame. This one is for height nodes. And yeah, now we can tweak our color ramp. It takes a while to switch from one color ramp type to another. And now I'm creating color stops to control size of the craters. Okay, height ramp is ready. Now we can use height to create mask. So mask must be sharper. That's why I'm using linear gradient for it. I'm freeing up some space for more nodes. Now I just copy the color ramp from the height and I'll use it to modify the color channel. We need one more color mix node with overlay blending mode, and let's connect with the group input. Now I think it's time to rearrange all the inputs. I prefer when generators come first, and we have color channel, then height channel, and each channel has factor input below it, so it all looks consistent. Okay, we should have color output as well. Now let's configure our color ramp. We have overlay mixing node, so we take color input from previous nodes and just overlay craters over it. Gray color of this ramp won't modify input color channel. White values will make it brighter and black values will make it darker. So overlay is a very useful blending mode for that, because using just one color ramp you can make channel brighter or darker as you wish. Now I create one more color input. We need some clouds noise. It's very important to keep in mind that clouds is a color value, so we must use yellow input circle, because if you connect it with gray circle, you can't use it to pass 3 separate color channels. Now I drop that wire here to create a placeholder for a mask input. We'll split in a use red channel for that. And we're gonna use that to mask color of the craters. And now I make a copy of that ramp to apply a mask on height channel, but this time I'll use green channel of the clouds texture. Now we have completely different masks for both color and height channels just by using the same texture input. I'll group these so we can move them around. And we also need to multiply factors by mask input from the previous nodes. This masking group already looks quite complicated, but well, we have lots of channels. And now we'll multiply our cloud masks with the mask input we've just connected through, and use it as a factor for color mix nodes. Now we have craters node ready. Let's connect all necessary inputs we have created and see the result. So clouds are there, height is also there. Let's reconnect color channel with the shader node. Okay, so we have craters over lunar seas. We need to connect that sea mask output with the mask input of our craters node. Something is not right. Let's check what we have here. Okay, mask was connected correctly. Looks nice. We don't have any craters overseas anymore. And now we can tweak our blending factors. And also let's reduce height factor because we don't want to be too strong. Okay, so what can we do next? We can reuse the same craters node. We don't create another one, we just copy it. And we can use with other inputs to create different sizes of craters. I will rename this node so we know it's for medium craters. And this one will be for medium as well, but with slightly different size. Let's connect color channel and height channel like that. So continue building our texture pipeline. We had 5 crater generators back there, so we'll just use the next output from the generator to create next size of the craters. And we also want to mix all the masks together using multiply node, so we don't have overlapping craters. We don't want new features appearing over craters from the previous layer, so that's why we're multiplying mask. Okay, so now we'll use blue channel of the clouds as an input. I'll connect it through like that, waiting for a shader to update. It became much slower. And now we connect medium second craters generator with the input of our craters node. Okay, everything seems right. I'll move these nodes a bit closer to save some space. Now we'll decrease height factor a little bit. Okay, I just realized I need to reconnect that color channel. Very nice, now it looks just awesome. Now we just copy the same node, and this time we'll use it to create really big craters. So we'll use the craters big 2, and we'll use different color channel of the clouds. And let's also multiply mask from the previous node. But for big craters I'll use just seas mask, because these can appear over other crater layers. Now it really takes a while to compute. Now you can see what that mask slider is doing. It's removing all the overlapping craters. Oh, by the way, I forgot to assign material to the small moon we have here. Now it looks alright. Now I duplicate the craters node and click on number of users to make a single user copy. That's because we'll heavily modify it. It will be quite different from the usual craters, and we'll use it for small craters. I connected with the shader inputs straight away, and now we use small craters generator and medium clouds noise. Let's free some space around here and connect all the masks we have left to make sure small craters don't appear over any existing craters we have. Okay, so currently we don't see much. I'll change values a little bit so we can see where they appear. Okay, now I can see them. They are here, yeah. Okay, so what we need to do? We need to change all the color ramps we have here. I got rid of one from the clouds channel because we'll use only one of them to modify our generator input. I'll change the ease from the linear and move color stops around. Okay, what else we need to change? Let's change height ramp. I'll make it much simpler because craters are very small, so we can have a very simple color ramp as well. And even with ease, we don't need B-spline anymore. And for color, I'll make it smoother so we have white fall-off effect around these craters. By the way, when changing nodes, you can turn off the viewport so it doesn't hang up in between updates. Okay, I can see now craters are over the white plains, but what we want these craters to appear exactly over the seas. So what we need to do? We need to take our mask and invert it, so we have the opposite. Let's mix inverted mask with the factor inputs, and now we have all small craters appear only over the seas. We can spot them very easy now because seas are dark and small craters have white glow around them. So these are our small craters. Let's move on. Okay, what can we do else? I'll create a color ramp and we'll work on the mountains. So mountains will give us a little bit more variation to the surface and will look more interesting. See how I disabled the viewport? It really takes some time right now to compile all the shaders. So not to slow myself down, I switched to only node editor. No viewport means no updates on every node tree modification. It can greatly improve your speed, and if you're working with complex shaders and your GPU is so-so. Okay, so remember we had distorted clouds generator output. Here we're gonna put it through this color ramp to generate our mountains. So we have a color ramp and multiply node to mix together mask input with color factor. This will be our mountains color group. I'll use additive blending factor to make mountain peaks brighter than the rest of the moon surface. We're gonna have B-spline ramp and our mountains will have flat peaks. And now I duplicate color ramp to modify our height channel. I'm multiplying height with mask so it doesn't affect any craters. So basically we'll have mountains in between craters. The only free space we have left are the white plains. Not much free space left, but we'll have to fill it up. Can you count how many color ramps we have created today? Okay, so we name this node mountains and let's connect it to our pipeline. We also need to multiply mask. This time 100% because we don't want any mountains or craters. And now let's connect it to the output. Okay, so this was the last color node we need for this shader. Let's see what we have. I'll change height, and yeah, there you go. Well, it's modifying all the craters and we don't need that. Let's change factor value to something really small. Okay, now let's check if we have connected everything correctly. I see there is not much variation in crater sizes. let's go back to the generator. But first, let me rearrange all the nodes so we can see where wires are going. It's a total mess right now. Okay, now let's see what our generator values are affecting. If we create a single node for this shader, we can export all these generator inputs as control parameters. Probably we don't need multiplication with itself for some of the smaller craters, so I just drop all these connections and we'll have a bit smoother craters. Okay, now everything looks nice. And let me show you how by changing these texture mapping node values we can control all texture generators and also scale and rotation. So well, if you want to generate a different kind of moon, you can just tweak all these values. This is the only thing you need. And we can use some input value node to control all scale values at once. Well, because you probably don't want to get your texture stretched out. This way you can make all the features very big or small depending on what you need. Now there you go, best in the world moon shader for Blender Eevee. I showed you some basics, but it doesn't mean that's all you can get with this approach. Let me show you something I did in meantime, just a variation of the same shader. I built it to use for Asteroid, same approach but different settings, I guess. I'll be honest, it's one of the most complicated shaders I ever did, and it took lots of time to build and test it out, but it's really powerful even though I don't know full potential. I suspect that now you can create an infinite amount of different moons just by moving some sliders. Now that's a real benefit of being 100% procedural. And best of all, the shader is fully cycles compatible, what means you can make it for use in games or whatever you like. So have a nice day, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this.